Shalom, right? Shalom, shalom, man. This your brothers from the Hopeful Elect uh, on live again, right? On this what we call Soul Food Sunday. So first and foremost, we always want to give all praises, glory, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? We want to say shalom to all the brothers and sisters who will tune in on this video live, and we want to say shalom to all the brothers and sisters who will tune in to this video after the live stream is ended, right? We want to give a shalom to all the men and women of Israel that's laboring, putting their brick in for the Lord, day in and day out, trying to wake up a righteous nation, right? We also want to say shalom to the women who are holding down their household, shalom to the brothers who are leading their households in righteousness, right? We want to say shalom to the single men and single women in the community that are building themselves up, one to be a righteous helpmeet and one to be a righteous leader in the eyes of the Lord, right? Because like Sirach 25 said, there's three things that the Lord has beautified and stood up both beautiful between the Most High and men, right? That was the unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, and lastly, a man and a wife that agree together. So shalom to the men and the wife that agree together. Shalom to the men who are wanting to agree with their wives. Shalom to the women who are wanting to agree with their husbands. Shalom to the unity of brethren or brothers that are preaching and promoting the unity of one another, right? Shalom to everyone who's having love for your neighbor, right? Loving your neighbor as yourself. But this video today, like I said on the live yesterday, and also like the brother Azrael alluded to, it's still floating around the chapter of Deuteronomy 28, right? So again, it's a powerful chapter in the scriptures. The same thing with Leviticus chapter 26, and I think it's a chapter that if a lot of people read it, a lot of things will be made. I guess you could say plain upon tables. Today's lesson, though, we'll be going into a couple videos, right, and building up. I guess you could say doing a reaction vid, kind of, sort of, and just kind of like, breaking it down per se. But before we do get into the video, let's pull up the first precept so that way we can kind of set the stage and let the people know where we're coming from, right? We can do it in the same order that we've been doing it, top of the screen. So I guess you can go first, Brother Azrael.
Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So the Most High God had it written in his word that a curse would be that we'll serve our enemies in hunger and thirst and nakedness. And again, I'm going to emphasize it today, like I had the brothers do yesterday, in want of all things, right? And we're going to have a yoke of iron upon our necks until he has destroyed us. So when you watch these videos, just think about some of the things that you are going to witness. Think about some of the things that you're going to see. Now, let's go to the next precept, Deuteronomy. We're staying in 28. Let's go to verse number 54, right? We're going to read 54 and 56.
Verse 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave.
Right? So the Lord said our eyes were going to be evil toward our brother, toward the wife of our bosom, and toward the remnant of our children, which we shall leave, right? One of the videos that we'll display will show curses, not necessarily like this, but again, this is one of the curses that we tell people that we can see manifesting today when you view like black on black crime, right? How it's portrayed in the media, how it's such a buzz, as if other nations don't do the same thing, but nonetheless, it affects us the most, right? Now let's read verse 56.
Verse 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter.
Right. So again, even the tender and delicate woman has kind of sort of changed, right? Because of the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. Can you go to verse number, it's one more verse. I want to say it's verse number 62. Keep it wide. Go to verse 62. It's either 61 or 62. You can keep it wide. I just want to see if it, let me see. Yeah. Matter of fact, we're going to read 61 and 62.
61. Also, every sickness, every plague, which is not written in this book of this law, written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
So even sicknesses that aren't mentioned in the book, right? The Lord is going to bring upon us, right? Let's go to 62, and then we're going to jump down to verse number 65.
Verse 62. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God.
Right. It was prophesied that we would be an innumerable multitude, as the sand of the sea, as the stars of heaven, which cannot be counted, measured, nor numbered. Right. But at the same time, the Lord is saying one of the curses that will be left few in number, almost like how they call us the minority in a sense. Right. Because, again, we disobeyed the curses of the Lord, which is why certain prophecies have come to pass. And just like this one, right. Deuteronomy 28 and 65. 65. Dang. Let's read that.
Verse 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
Right. The Lord is going to give us these things because we fail to uphold the covenant which he made with us and our people, which is why, again, when you read this chapter, it's so beautiful because, yes, it's speaking about how the Lord cursed his people for disobeying him, right? But it's also sweet because at the same time, these curses bear witness, like we titled our video yesterday, the curses bear witness to who we are, right? We are the real children of Israel. We are the true Israelites, biblically speaking, not just in a spiritual sense. So with that being said, we can go into whichever video you click on first is the first one we'll go in and break down. It's not no specific order, but whichever video you wanted to pull up, go ahead, do your thing. Hey, before you play it, fair use. Fair use. We're using both of these videos that are being displayed on the Facebook platform for educational and research purposes. Okay, we do not claim the rights to this content. We're just using this to promote education to our communities, right? So fair use. Now you can play it.
Bro, why? I ain't got nowhere to go. I'm homeless, man. Where I'm going? We just go around bailing people out. Nah, but where am I going? Oh, man. Yo, come on, what's up? What happened? Nah, man. Why you bailing me out, though? I'm saying we be doing like goofy bails and stuff. We're like, I got nowhere to go. I got nowhere to sleep. Well, it's cold out here. We gonna get you something to eat. How you can get me back in there? We gonna get you some food. No, we gonna get you some food. I want to go back in. I don't want to be in the streets. I want to go back in. You want to go back to jail? Yes. I want to go back in. I don't know why you know. Yeah, we just build your
right. All right, you can play that. So that's the end of that video, right? So surprisingly, that was the video I was talking about that was going to play through. So what happens is this is streamer, you know what I'm saying, that goes around randomly bailing people out of jail. You know, he so happened to bail this brother out of jail, and we can clearly see how the brother was kind of irate that he got bailed out because, again, he didn't have anything. Let's go back to the Bible real quick and reestablish the purpose of going to Deuteronomy 28. Let's go back to verse number 48, right? Verse number 48. And you can read this, Brother Danal, Baba Kasha.
Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee.
So we've been destroyed so much that even when we break free from the system that was set up to, I guess you can say, serve as a punishment for criminal behavior, right? We want to kind of go back because even when we get on the outside, we're destroyed. We have nowhere to go. We have no home. We have no bed. We have no source of transportation. We have no job. We have no way to eat or drink, right? So where it says in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness, right? At least on the inside, right? He gets clothes, he gets bed, he gets food and water, right? He's able to take a shower. He doesn't have to go to work to provide him shelter. So, and then it also says in want of all things, again, that's exactly why we say the curses bear witness to our people. This is exactly a situation about how we can see how our people have been destroyed, and how even in the spiritual sense, you can see these curses applying to us even till this day. Because again, it's not something to be taken lightly when somebody gets out of jail and then you see them complaining about going back, right? It's the same thing that our people did. Can we go to the book of Exodus? Dang, I forgot the precept. I normally know it, so I didn't write it down. Type in since we have left Egypt, we've had much hunger or something like that. Or is is the verbiage I'm thinking about for that precept in second Esdras?
Like sorrow.
Go to right. Let's read this in Exodus 14 and 12, Brother Obadiah.
Brother Obadiah. You on mute.
Man, has noise in the background.
Oh, come on.
Let's like it. Exodus 14 and verse 12. Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
Right. The same thing when the Lord was bringing us out of Egypt, right? He was bailing us out of captivity. He was bailing us out of jail. We said the same thing, that, hey, look, we should have just stayed in Egypt, because why would we leave there in captivity if we're going to die right here in the wilderness, being free? Same thing again, like it says, Exodus 16 and 3. Let's read this. Shout out to the brother Baruch for the precept.
Con. Exodus 16 and 3. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger.
Again, going back to Exodus 14 and 12, the Deuteronomy 28 and 48, we're going to serve our enemies in hunger and in thirst, right? In hunger, emphasizing that, meaning that our people were so focused on the food that they were going to eat that they were willing to go back into captivity just to ensure that they had food, right? Again, not putting the trust in the Most High God, which is where a lot of our people go wrong today, a lack of faith. And that's why we tell people, faith is not necessarily a New Testament concept, a concept that came about, during the time of Christ. Faith has always been the main aspect of serving the Most High, because even when we're being freed from captivity, just like the brother was being freed from his captivity, right? We're asking to go back because of the things that they have for us, the things that they provided us with, right? Let's go to the book of First Maccabees chapter 1, and let's go to verse number 11, right? It's the same thing. Every different period.
Do you know in what kind of process he does to do that? Can you just go up to the deal and just ask whose bail's out there?
Pretty much.
I guess you can, man. I never bailed nobody out, so I wouldn't know. But I would assume that you can just go bail somebody out, put money on the books, because they don't know if you know that person or not. And I don't think it's limited to who can bail you out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I just think it's if they have bail posted, you can go post it for them.
Yeah, they just want the money. There's a lot of times when people get bailed out, they don't even know who bailed them out for real. And they
right.
And they waiting to see who bailed them out. A lot of times they'll be sitting in there and then they'll be like, yo, hey, you out. And they'll be like, what? So I think, you know what I'm saying? They just want their money, bro. If you go up to the jail and be like, hey, what's the cheapest bail bond? I'm willing to pay it for them. I'm sure they'll give it to you.
That's an idea.
Could be.
Unless you want to get out.
Right. Hey, brother Azrael, you can read this though in First Maccabees.
Yeah, First Maccabees 1 and 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. Since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Again, man, faith is not a New Testament concept. Even in the intertestamental period, during the time of the Maccabees, we can see how our people did not have the faith, right, to believe and trust in the Most High that He will provide for us. But that's a part of us being destroyed, that we will forget our covenant, we will forget our heritage, we will forget our God, right? We will forget His laws, right, that He made for us. We will forget that He is the one who provided for us and gave us shelter and gave us food and gave us raiment, right? Let me get one more precept and then we can go to the next video. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 9 and verse number 27. All right. You can really start at 26, I think. Before you click on it, though, we'll just keep it wide so I can see where, because I'm trying to see the verbiage. So, but Khan, man, again, these curses bear witness to who we are as a people, right? I'm not going to say that, you know, other nations don't have people incarcerated. I'm not going to say that there aren't other nations that have households that are broken due to, I guess you could say, the father not being present or the mother forsaking her children, right? But what I am going to say is, by and large, right, you can see who's affected by these things the most, right? You can see there's a specific people group that's kind of been pushed off all across the face of the earth, that forgot their identity, that got stripped of their heritage, that doesn't know who they are. A lot of what the curses said would happen, as well as the other things that happened with them as well, right? But let's read this. Let's scroll up a little bit. Scroll up. It do the other way, yeah. Let's start. Well, let's just go down. So I'll just set the precedent saying that this is talking about the children of Israel, right? This is the I guess you could say Nehemiah going into the works of the Lord and what the Lord did for us, right? Now, let's start at verse number 26, and we're going to read 26 and 27 and 28. Brother Denal.
Come on, man. Verse 26. Nevertheless, they were disobedient and rebelled against thee, and cast thy law behind their backs, and slew thy prophets, which testified against them to turn them to thee, and they wrought great provocations.
Right. This is Nehemiah chapter 9. Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 26, 27, and 25, 26, and 27. No, I mean, excuse me. 26, 27, 28. Yeah.
Come. 27. Therefore thou deliverest them into the land of their enemies, and vexed them, who vexed them. And in the time of their trouble, when they cried unto thee, thou heardest them from heaven. And according to thy manifold mercies, thou gavest them saviors, who saved them out of the hand of their enemies. Verse 28. But after they had rest, they did evil again before thee. Therefore leftest thou them in the hand of their enemies, so that they had the dominion over them. Yet when they returned and cried unto thee, thou heardest them from heaven, and many times didst thou deliver them according to thy mercies.
Right. So all in all, right, we can see how the curses bear witness, because even when we cried out, asking the Lord to let us go back to Egypt, or why did you free us from Egypt, just for us to die in the wilderness due to hunger, right? He gave us manna. He always saved us out of our situation when he came and delivered us from it, right? But that's, again, just like the brother in the video, right? I'm not saying that he should have just trusted them random dudes off rip, right? But like our people should do is, when the Most High God bails us out of situations that we don't even realize that are situations that we shouldn't want to be in, right? That we shouldn't be in at all. We got to learn how to trust him and rely on him to make ways for us to have enough bread, enough meat to sustain our lives, right? And I'm not just talking about bread and meat in a physical food sense. I'm speaking about things that could take care of us, right? Like clothes, like shelter, like, you know, transportation, like a job to make some income. We got to trust in the Lord in these things. So again, Nehemiah 9 is just going into how the Lord, time after time again, he sends us a savior for the things that we do wrong. And it's gotten to a point where now the only thing that's now it's gotten to a point where the only thing that's going to save us now is to repent and keep the laws of God. Because at the end of the day, even when we did get right after he bailed us out, we went back to doing the same thing, which is what a lot of brothers do. I've seen videos on YouTube. I've seen videos on the AE network, right, about how so-called well, I ain't even gonna say just so-called Negroes, right? But it was Negroes and Latinos that was getting bailed out of jail, and they gave confessions like, "Oh, after I got bailed out, shoot, I ain't had nowhere to go, so I ended up committing a crime on purpose just to go back to jail." Right? I've seen it happen before. I used to watch Gangland. I used to watch them type of shows with my father when I was a child, and a lot of that information was being, I guess you could say, put on the airways, not even realizing how biblical it really is, in a sense. Again, we will serve our enemies in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he's going to put a yoke of iron upon our neck until he has destroyed us. It is destruction when you feel like you can't do nothing to change your situation around. The only thing you can rely on is the enemy. And I lied. I do want to get one more precept. Lamentations 4 and 17. Lamentations 4 and 17, right? I want to get one more.
It's like it, King. It's kind of a sidebar, but it go with the scripture that you just brought out, man. It's gonna be a lot of people. It's gonna be a lot of people in this truth having that same mindset. When Christ plead with us face to face, in the wilderness, you're gonna have Israelites like, man, we had it better in Babylon. We had McDonald's, we had Chick-fil-A, we had Zaxby's, right? We had all we had we could have went to the mall, we had the movies, we had sports, but now it was better in Babylon. So that spirit ain't going nowhere. That's that same spirit, still in a lot of Israelites to this day. What you got it, King?
Khan, you can read this in Lamentations 4 out.
Khan, Lamentations 4 and 17. As for excuse me, as for us, our eyes as yet fail for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us.
I mean, over the last couple of weeks, we can find lessons where we were pulling up precepts about how we put our trust in Pharaoh, and Pharaoh couldn't save us, right? We put our trust in, Artaxerxes, and Artaxerxes couldn't save us. Well, not even Artaxerxes, but Darius, Cyrus, Nebuchadnezzar. We put our trust in all these kings, right, that couldn't save us. And nonetheless, that's important to know, because at the end of the day, it's not no mortal man that's going to save us. Just like when we look at our people, right? Even in today's time in the United States of America, like we talked briefly about yesterday at camp, we have figureheads like Malcolm X, we have figureheads like MLK, but even those brothers weren't enough to save our people, right? And we look for our nation to save us by taking part in their politics, voting on their policies. We look for them to save us by participating and protesting in the way that they would have us to, not even realizing that. And again, Isaiah chapter 30 is a big one. Not even realizing that none of the things that the government sets up for so-called minorities, so-called people of color, blacks and Hispanics and natives, none of that is going to make us unified again, right? None of that is going to change our situation. None of that is going to change our circumstance. And our people need to learn to turn to the commandments of the Lord, because that's the only thing that's going to deliver us. Just like the brother that got freed, if he would have put his trust in the Lord, and if he repented from his actions, right, and put his trust in the Lord, maybe then the outcome could have been different, right? But this is Isaiah 30 and 2. I'll read this, right? It says, that walk down to go into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Again, if you read this chapter, it's going to explicitly explain how when we put our trust in Pharaoh, he could not come save us. When we put our trust in these other nations, right, he cannot save us. Isaiah 30 and 3. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. Right? Hey, can you pull up 1 Corinthians 14, 33? 1 Corinthians 14 and 33. Remember, the trust in the shadow of Egypt, your confusion. We know in Exodus 11 and 7, the Lord said he doth put a difference between the Egyptians and the children of Israel, right? So knowing this, the Lord freed the Israelites from the Egyptians. So the Egyptians are not the same as the Israelites. The Most High God is the God of the Israelites, not the Egyptians. And that's why putting our trust in the Egyptians would be our confusion, because he told us in Leviticus 18:3 that after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. We shouldn't follow their gods. We shouldn't follow their customs. We shouldn't live our lives according to how they lived our lives, because we seen their prosperity. Because in Deuteronomy 4, the Lord told us that our statutes, our commandments would make us that great and wise nation that everybody looked to and came to and wanted to learn how to be like, right? But because we put our trust in them, like it mentioned in Isaiah 30, it was going to be our confusion. But guess what? The Most High God is not. Let's read this. 1 Corinthians 14:33. It says, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. The Most High God is not the author of confusion. So if we put our trust in him, we won't be so confused. We won't ask questions like, why does this happen to this people? Why is this happening to that people, right? We won't ask questions when I get bailed out of jail, where I'm going to go, what I'm going to eat, what shoes I'm going to put on, where I'm going to sleep, right? If we put our trust in the Most High God. But that's why these curses bear witness, because you can see how it affects our people on a different level than most people, right? But we can close out that first video and let's go right into the second one. Because if brothers ain't got no precepts to add, man, I'm going to try to keep my word and you know what I'm saying, and breeze through this. That was the second video I sent?
You muted up.
Dang, that was? I didn't think that was the video I sent. Hey, you can go on Google and type in man gets into shootout with baby mama's girlfriend, because that was the video I thought that was gonna play.
It's very broad.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. It's a recent video. It should pull up. Man gets in shootout with baby mama's girlfriend.
With baby mama girlfriend?
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one we looked at earlier this week.
Yeah, remember the one you put in the chat, and I was like, I had just said that. I thought I put that link in my notes, but I guess I didn't. I guess I put the wrong video in there.
Let's see if I can.
With baby mama girlfriend?
Yes, with baby mama's girlfriend.
Might gotta go to YouTube.
6 days ago.
Yeah. Dang, it's asking you to log in. Oh, there you go, right there. There you go, right there.
Yeah.
So, hey, remember, fair use. Fair use. This is for educational purposes. This is for research purposes to promote the education of our people, right? We don't own this content. We don't own the rights to this content. We're not monetizing this content. We just want to educate, right? So we can go ahead and play it whenever you're ready.
So she's like a dyke, basically. Like she the boy she's the so-called boy in a relationship, right?
The one who gets in a shootout with her, the baby daddy, yeah.
Okay.
She's supposed to be the dude.
She the protector.
Right. Let's play this.
No. Get in there.
Wow.
So that was the end of that video, right? What the situation was, it didn't even show the whole video. So the video that the brother Denal put in the chat earlier this week was the woman who was outside arguing. I don't know what the topic of discussion was, why they were arguing, right? But the girl who the brother ended up killing, right? Yeah, you can.
And she died.
She goes in. Listen, this is right here, right there. She's going inside the house to get the gun. So she's leaving the scene, right, to go and get a weapon to use to, I guess you can say, I don't even think she was going to get it to use it to actually shoot and kill this man. I just think that she thought she was going to scare him off with that weapon. But like the wise saying is, you don't draw no gun unless you plan to use it.
Right, man. A lot of women buy guns not intending to use them, but just intending to flash them. But we live in a a society now where, like you said, like DMX said, you better bust that if you're gonna pull that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? 'Cause if you don't, the person that you trying to scare, oftentimes they gonna think, oh, they gonna use it, so they gonna use theirs, right? And what she failed to realize here is that when it comes to being a protector, right, you all in. You got to be all in it every time. So like you call yourself a protector, you call yourself taking on the roles of a man, right? And then I think she just got shown that it's not as easy as it's portrayed to be, right? And a lot of men ain't gonna play with you, just like men won't play with each other. They're not gonna play with you, especially if he is the father of the kid that he's trying to check up on. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But now this is what I'll say. He's facing a murder charge, first degree. But I don't think I don't even gonna say I think that if he has the right lawyer, this case is easily, tossed out the window, right? For two reasons. One, there's this thing called the stand your ground law. If you can pull that up real quick, the stand your ground law. I know a lot of states don't have it. I don't even really know what state this took place in. But what I do know is that most states do have this law. I know that there are some that don't. But can you pull up?
Even if it's not, if you legally have your firearm, if somebody draws a gun on you and you're scared for your life, you should be able to get off on that. The only hiccup I see is when she was on the ground and he came back, and but you can still you can still fight that too, because if he claimed that he saw the weapon still, that's what the police officers be doing.
Right. And two, and one thing I said, a lot of people said that same thing that you said. She dropped the gun and he still was shooting. But I said, well, vantage point means everything too, because that's just a cover shot, because he has to get back to his vehicle. So when he seen her sitting down, he didn't know if she still had the weapon out. So he just shot again just to ensure that, he was safe. And then that's when he left the scene. So I feel like that's an easy defense, because from his vantage point, he couldn't see that she dropped the gun, because she tossed the gun on the opposite side of the vehicle, obstructing his view of the weapon. It wasn't until he got up close and he shot that.
And like he wasn't on a property, he was on public property.
Right, he was on the street.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It should be easy.
So a stand your ground law is a state statute that removes the traditional legal duty to retreat from a dangerous situation before using force, including deadly force for self-defense, defense of others, or defense of property. And this is why I say this case is going to be easily won if he has the right attorney, because again, all the brother was doing was standing his ground, Now, on a spiritual side of things, again, this is a curse, right? Can we go back to the Bible? Deuteronomy chapter 28, right? We can go back to verse number 65.
Slocky, you could read this part too.
Oh, okay, let me read this. It says this principle allows individuals to stand their ground and use force when they are in a place they have a legal right to be. Like the brother Denal pointed out, he was on the street. He has a legal right to be on a public street, right? If they reasonably believe such force is necessary to prevent death or serious injury, right? So again, that case should be thrown out the window, because yes, he did intend to use deadly force, but it was to prevent deadly force. Rather, it was actually self-defense and defense of others. I think he had his girl, and I don't know where the child was. I'm not sure if the child was in the car, but if the child was, then that's even further reason why that use of force was necessary, right? But let's read this, Brother Obadiah, if you can, in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse number 65.
Verse 65. And among these nations shall thou find no ease.
Right. Keep reading.
Okay. Neither shall the sole of thy feet have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
Right. Hey, look, in this land, man, like we talked about a few lessons ago, like maybe 2 weeks ago, how we talked about the kind of the feminist movement, right? In the Seneca Falls Declaration, and how it was a woman named Elizabeth Cady, I forgot her name, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, I think that was her name, that pretty much started that movement back in the 1800s the mid 1800s, like 1860 something, that 1868. She started that movement in 1868 to kind of promote equality amongst men and women, you know, and that's where the feminist movement really started. The reason that Candace Owens, that I watched the video that Candace Owens did, which I actually liked, and I liked Candace Owens' part in it, is because she was debating these people that were saying that, you know, the feminist movement isn't a bad thing. Candace Owens was saying it was, and it was men advocating for that as well, which is ironic because you're not a woman. But nonetheless, talking about the information thereof that was coming out is how the feminist movement has destroyed not only the essence of what a true woman should embody or want to embody, but also the fact that even in the sense of breaking it down by race and ethnicity, African American women tend to have the most, I guess you could say, negative. What is it? I guess you could say the most negative reward for the feminist movement, right? Because it has done nothing but destroy our households and our communities even further. The reason I'm saying that is because that's why you see a lot of studs and dykes walking around thinking that they're equal to men. Women who are supposed to be women and not wanting to set the sole of her foot upon the ground, like it mentions in Deuteronomy 28:56, they want to be the real niggas. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but they want to be the ones that sagging their pants and fighting men, right? Another reason it's destroyed us too, this homosexuality, is also because if you look up domestic violence statistics, statistically speaking, homosexual relationships between women and women account for the most of domestic violence cases, right? So technically, again, it's a curse that bears witness to who we are as a people, but it's not a good thing. It's actually a bad thing because at the end of the day, we are in this position because we forgot the law of our God, right? You was finna say something, Azrael?
I'm disagreeing.
So we got to learn how to, I guess you can say, return to the covenant that the Most High God gave us, because let's go to the book of Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 13, right? Leviticus 20 and 13. Right?
The book of Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them.
So, and again, don't get lost in the way the Bible reads. When it says if a man, is not only just talking about man or, you know what I'm saying, the male sex, it's also referring to the women, right? But when you read this, this is pretty much saying that men can't lay with men the same way and women can't lay with women, right? It's an abomination in the eyes of the Most High God, right? That's why when you go to Romans 1 and 25, it talks about, you know, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever, right? Then it goes on to say in verse 26, for even the women, right, change her, I guess you could say, natural use, natural estate, roughly paraphrasing, right? So it's one of the things that we got to pay attention to when it comes to who God's people are. When we read this chapter, Deuteronomy 28, you can kind of see how these curses affect us, right? Again, that shootout video, I don't even know what they were arguing about. You know, if we knew what they were arguing about, we could go in more detail. But the fact that we don't know the details of it, we just see the video footage, right, recorded by the Ring camera on the door. All we can know is that the shootout took place, and it was something that shouldn't have happened because the women should know her role. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 11 and 3, right? And I'm going to get another precept on top of that. So let's read this in 1 Corinthians 11 and 3. If you can read this, Brother Denal.
Let me know if my background too loud, man.
Are you good?
1 Corinthians 11 and 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God.
we talked about order and structure, right? The same thing that we talked about with, the Seneca Falls Declaration, right? How our big brother Paul was establishing the order that the Most High had set in the beginning, right? Hey, the head of man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man. Now, that's not to say, again, we know that there's brothers who abuse this scripture and kind of rule over their wives with rigor, right? But not giving honor to your wife, knowing that she's the weaker vessel. I think that there's brothers who kind of abuse this and take it out of, well, I'm not going to say take it out of context. They're keeping it in context, but they're just having an abuse of power about it. Keep everything in perspective. We're supposed to give grace to our women. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to have compassion on them because they are the weaker vessel. They're more emotional. So we got to learn how to deal with it better. But ultimately, what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, it also comes with knowing that there is structure. And if the woman who was murdered would have knew her place and took heed to the structure and order that, hey, even if you're in a relationship with this woman who has a baby by this man, it's not my place to say something, right? She probably wouldn't have been in that situation to get her life taken. I got one more precept, which is Ecclesiasticus 11 and 10. Salakia, hold on real quick.
It probably, I ain't gonna speak on the situation because I don't really know exactly what happened. I kind of got an idea probably what happened, but I don't know for sure, so I ain't gonna say nothing. But yeah, man, like the brother said, like the scripture said, man, it's an order to this thing, bro. Like, and we as a people, we don't know this order. A lot of women saying it over the man. The man, he want the woman to be over him. That's where that term, the black woman is God, come from. So it's like we just so messed up as a people. We don't know the order that the Most High God established, for us to live by. So that's why it's so much confusion going on. You had a woman trying to be the head of the household, then you got the man trying to be the head of the household. So it's just like collision, Then all you muted out. I thought you were saying something. But yeah, so it's like, that's how it be, man. Just clashing heads in the households. So I'll read this. Any brother want to I don't know when Isaiah gonna be back.
It's crazy though, man. Because I didn't know that that girl had died in that video, man. She ended up dying. It's just wild, man. The whole situation is really wild, to be honest, man. But that's what happens when you're moving in the wrong spirit. When you're trying to move in a spirit of emulation. A lot of times we see emulation as trying to be like a particular person, whether that be like your role model or something like that. But a lot of times now, man, we can see that emulate. Like we can make a whole video on this about the agenda in 2025 of transgenderism and all of that stuff. All that is emulation. They're trying to emulate a man, even though that they're a woman. They're trying to emulate a woman, even though that they're a man, right? And so even when you read in the New Testament where it talks about nobody that's going to be emulating will enter into the kingdom of heaven, we can literally see that playing out in 2025 as we have transgenders and men trying to emulate women and women trying to emulate men.
Right.
It's always about just, because that brother's teaching like that, brother, that's emulated. It's sometimes it gets deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the sister fell to.
Right. Did we already read this on the screen?
Not yet.
Khan, if a brother could read this, Brother Azrael.
Khan, Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 11 and 10. My son, meddle not with many matters, for if thou meddle much, thou shalt not be innocent. And if thou follow after, thou shalt not obtain, neither shalt thou escape by fleeing.
You got to think this is wisdom. Not, again, we know it's directed towards the men, but it also applies to the women that if you don't meddle in matters, right, you'll be innocent, right? But if you meddle much, you won't be innocent. That lady, even if she was to live, she wouldn't have been innocent in that situation because she was meddling in a matter that if the brother was getting into an argument with his baby mom about his son, it really didn't concern her, as women and women cannot create a child, right? So that's just wisdom for the viewers, Like it reads, if you follow after, you shouldn't obtain, neither shall you escape by fleeing, right? She wasn't able to obtain that which she seeketh, nor was she able to escape by fleeing, because even when she realized, oh, I done messed up, let me throw the gun down, right? I'm in pain, this is bad, right? It was too late at that point. And the same thing that she was looking for, what she originally was looking for, was the dude to go away. But again, he didn't. So she didn't obtain that which she sought for. She thought she was going to pull the gun to scare him off and go away. And that's what she wanted. She wanted, again, like we talked about yesterday, the attention to be the main character, look like I'm big and bad for my girlfriend, when in reality, again, it's an abomination in the eyes of God. And she didn't receive that which she sought after. Instead, she received death, which was meat, because again, she drew a weapon, right? So this is just wisdom to give to us to apply to these situations in life, knowing that one, the curses bear witness, like it reads in Deuteronomy 28:65, we ain't gonna have no ease in this land. We ain't gonna have no ease for real in captivity, because there's so many things that contribute to our downfall. There's so many things and rules and regulations here that are lawful according to the United States government, but will be unlawful in the eyes of God. Homosexuality being one of those things, right? And Donald Trump, he is doing something about, infidelity when it comes to adultery and marriage, breaking marriage covenants. It's now illegal to sleep around on your spouse. But at the same time, you got to think about all the other various laws that it's not illegal that our people can partake in, which is like breaking the Sabbath, which is there's no really, I guess you could say, no eating pork. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing. Not wearing your fringes is another thing. Not keeping the holy days of the Lord is another thing, right? Worshiping other gods, you're allowed to do that. That's another thing. Like we read in Exodus 20:1, the Lord God is our God, and we should have no other gods before him. He's the Lord that brought us out of Egypt. We shouldn't be serving no other God that didn't help bring us and deliver us from the hand of the Egyptians, right? But again, everybody on the face of the earth is not an Israelite. So this doesn't apply to everybody, right? So we always got to keep that in mind too. But if you feel as if the Spirit bears witness, like it reads in Romans 8, and you feel like you are a child of the Most High God, then this applies to you. Then there's things that you have to live and abide by. Even the heathens, right? Even the heathens, when they lived in the Israelites' land, had to abide by the rules of the Israelites. So our whole premise is, man, Proverbs 29:2, right? Let's end it. Let's end it with that. Proverbs 29:2.
God.
Yep. Because at the end of the day, man, not our will, but let the Most High's will be done in all things, because he's the author and finisher of our faith. I know the scripture reads Jesus Christ, the author and finisher of our faith, but we know that Christ does everything by will of the Father. So it's really the Father's hand operating in all things, right? But let's read this, if you can, Brother Denal, with Proverbs 29:2.
Proverbs 29:2, it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
And we're forever going to be mourning if we don't begin to change our ways, right? Again, having faith in the Most High to provide for us when we getting bailed out of jail is a changing of the ways. A changing of the ways is also getting rid of homosexual marriages, right? Keep things according to the law of God. Keep things that promote life and not necessarily love, because again, the love of the world is really death in the eyes of God. And we want life in the eyes of God, which a lot of people in the world attribute that to death and bondage, which is, again, why Paul had to teach the finer things of the law, just like Christ did. But nonetheless, we want to rejoice, and we can't rejoice in captivity because we continue to break the laws of God. And we just have to stop doing that in order for videos like you've seen today to stop happening, right? Brothers won't go to jail if they don't commit trespasses against the American law, which a lot of those trespasses that they could possibly commit against the American law could also be against the laws of God, being that America took some of the laws of God and applied it to their governing system, right? Our people, if they learn to follow the ways of the Lord, we won't be dealing with homosexual marriages, and we also won't be meddling in matters that don't really concern us, But at the end of the day, let the Lord's will be done. You know, in his timing will things be revealed and curses will be turned back on the heathen. But I don't got nothing else. The brothers got anything else to add?
Nah, my lesson, man. Break these
Con.
curses, man. Keep the commandments.
Right, man. Again, the curses bear witness. Like the brother Azrael started out with on Friday, you know, going into the Sabbath, how, hey, it's a powerful chapter. These curses bear witness, right? Same thing we said yesterday and the same thing we saying today. These curses bear witness. But it's your brothers from the hopeful elect, man. We want to close out and give all praises, glory, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We want to say shalom to the viewers live. We want to say shalom to the viewers that will tune in after the live is over with. We want to give a shalom to everybody who's laboring and putting in their brick to build up the nation, man. But the brothers will be on here, Lord's will, come not tomorrow, but Tuesday. The brother Denal will be spearheading the lesson in. So with that, all praise to the Most High. May the Most High be with you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and shalom.
Shalom.